Well, hello everyone. I'm Scott Gabbard with Purdue on the Farm, and today's coffee break we will be interviewing someone that straddles several fences as well as myself, and that's the Bryan Overstreet, who's affiliated with both Purdue Extension and the Conservation Cropping Systems Initiative. He's a great big help for me as far as providing some cover crop agronomy type work throughout the state of Indiana. And so, welcome, Bryan. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on today.
So, tell us a little bit about your background, Bryan. How you got to where you are today.
Well, I grew up on a farm in West Central Indiana, which our family still owns. Then I attended Purdue, started out with seed production at FFR Product Co-op, which is part of the co-op system. And then I did 15 years in retail with the co-op in Northwest Indiana after that. And then the last 20 plus years, I've been with Purdue Extension. 18 of those years were with the Jasper County Ag and Natural Resource Educator. And then the last almost 3 years now, I've been with the split position between Purdue Extension and CCSI as a conservation agronomist.
So tell us a little about your current role as far as conservation agronomist and what that really means as far as getting conservation practices out in the fields throughout the state of Indiana.
I work with farmers across the state, mostly in the northern part, but that's because that's where I'm located. But I've worked across the state, talking about soil health, working with the farmers, setting up plans for doing cover crops, helping evaluate cover crops. One project I'm working on is to develop a program on evaluating cover crops. So hopefully we'll have that here later this summer, something to introduce on that. So working on that, and then preaching soil health, I guess, is the biggest thing. We're across the state. I've worked with smaller groups and FFA groups all the way to some larger programs also across the state. And then I also help on the Purdue on the farm side too, doing tried to do some plots on conservation type tillage, strip till type versus no till, looking at different cover crops and how they affect the maybe looking to see if they can change how much manganese we may be spraying on some of our muck fields, or looking at if they change how much sulfur we need to add and things like that.
So, not trying to sound like a realtor, but it comes down to location, location, location. And so, when I look outside or from the front porch or take a short drive, it looks like Waterworld down here, at least at this point in time. But your part of the Indiana is not quite the same. And so, tell us about some of the challenges of getting the crop established in 2025 with regard to the cover crops.
We had some issues, especially central and northern Indiana. We had a dry summer and fall last year. If you look at the drought map, it's still an issue across a lot of that area. Parts of that have got quite a bit of rain this last week or two. You get the part of the state I'm in here in northwest Indiana. Where southern India got 5, 6 inches of rain, I think in some places we got half inch. So, I mean, we're still fairly dry up here. But trying to get this cover crops established last fall in several places were a challenge. I had some guys that have been diehard cover crop guys for years, and they didn't even try to plant because it was so dry. They'd had basically a failure the year before because it was so dry, and they didn't see that it looked like it very promising going into the fall this last year. So they just didn't even try. But and we've got it's right now with things starting to green up. We can kind of start evaluating how well our cover crops did, the ones that were supposed to go through the winter, and see how they did. I think we were cold enough this winter that we shouldn't have any issues with any of the ones that weren't supposed to make it through the winter. Which a few years ago, even here in northern Indiana, we had some oats that got through the winter, but I don't think that's going to be an issue this year. We were cold enough without snow long enough this year. I think we took care of that, but we may start seeing because it was so dry, we may start seeing some stuff that didn't germinate last fall start to germinate now that we are getting some moisture and these warm days we're having right now. I mean, it's been at 70 yesterday and last week one day, so which is unusual this time of year. I know we broke several records this week on high temperatures, and so we're going to get some things probably starting to sprout that normally wouldn't sprout. We may be having some weeds start sprouting too because of that too. So we got to start scouting the fields for that and looking for those issues also. But it's also gave us an opportunity to, if you are wanting to put a spring cover crop in, we've got some time now to do that. And if you want to get some spring oats or field peas or something in, if you can't get across the field right now, this might be an excellent time to do that because we got a month or two before we're really going to be wanting to start planting yet.
And so, even with that late growth or late germination, we can still see some positive effects, can we not, with regard to the cover crop growing?
Yes, we're going to still get some root growth, get that biology working in the field. One of our key things on the soil health is having a living root there most of the year. So we didn't get it through the winter, but if we can get something started 2 months earlier this year, as we can get my biology going, as I say in a lot of my talks. I said, our system that we've been using in the last 80 to 100 years, those microbes in the soil have been starving from October till May, and because they haven't had any root exits to be living off of. And so if we can get something living out there, even for a month or so now that we didn't have before, we can get some benefits on that. And if we get some roots growing out there, if we do get some more heavier rains, those roots are going to hold that soil better for erosion if we have any potential for any erosion going on also.
Yeah, that's really something that it's kind of hard to see with regard to the microbes and everything helping as far as the glue, the like interstitial tissue almost, as far as holding those soil beds together in a clump. But once you see it, it's pretty cool. So that's one of the things that I know that Bryan, that you do as far as doing some of the demonstrations on showing how a living soil actually is a healthier soil, and where the plants actually help with that almost symbiotic relationship with the microbes in the ground to keep that soil alive throughout the growing season or beyond the
And
growing season.
it can also help quite a bit on infiltration. So when we do get these big rains, we can retain more of that water and keep it for when we do have those dry periods this summer, and keep it from flooding near as much in the creeks and streams. If we can get that water to go in the soil instead of all running off, that healthy soil will absorb that and then also retain it for later use. So it's a win-win proposition if we can get that water in our soil versus running down the street, rivers and streams and taking several nutrients along with it when it does that usually.
So you mentioned us starting to probably really get into planting season here about the next 4 to 6 weeks, that type of thing. What are some things that you're looking forward to with regard to 2026, and what are some of your plans?
Uh, well, I've said earlier, I'm working on this program for evaluating cover crops. So the next few weeks, we'll be working quite a bit on looking at the cover crops that were planted last fall and seeing if we had issues, if there's patterns in them. A lot of times we'll see a pattern that it is striped because of the residue issues that we didn't spread our residue from the combine evenly enough that we have some issues. We'll see issues, especially as those dry falls. A lot of times we'll see issues of a herbicide carryover in the dry and different soil types. We'll see some of those things. So evaluating some of those things right now, and then working with farmers on timing a burn down, whether they want to burn down prior to planting. I'd like to see 2 to 3 weeks before planting if we can. Let that biomass start to degrade before we do, or wait till it's plant into it green, which a lot of people are doing now. The planter goes through it excellently through that. It gives you a lot more biomass. It's going to give you a mat to hold the weeds back longer. It can cause some more challenges because of other things too, because of that, but it can give you a lot more benefits with more root structure and things like that to hold that soil firm until you do plant. Um, and so those are some of the things that we'll be working on, and working on setting up some trials through the Purdue on the Farm. I know I've got a couple lined up right now. I'll try to see if I can get a couple more worked on before then too.
Excellent. So the whole thing with the cover crops, you talking about the burn down earlier. Are you talking about
Uh,
both mechanical and chemical, or just mostly chemical burn down?
Mostly chemical, I guess. I would like to not do much mechanical unless, I mean, if there's a few crimpers around which you can use on cereal rye, but that one we need to wait till basically the rye is half blooming or more, and then you can break it down and crunch it down and it'll stay down. So that one's you definitely plant in two green generally, or planting. I like seeing it planted into and then crimped right afterwards is usually a good time to do that. But and burn down if you are planting two green, timing is very important. You want to do that burn down right as basically as close as that planting as you could, maybe from a day before till a day or two afterwards. If we start waiting longer than that, we start causing some lag on that burn the weeds, the cover crop coming down and the plants coming up, and we can cause some issues. So that timing, especially, I mean, we want to get within a week of that planting for sure.
Sure, excellent. Otherwise, it becomes a muddy mess, especially if we
Yeah,
get a late rainfall.
yeah,
Like mentioned earlier, it's dry up in your area. My area,
yeah.
not so much. And so, the last I've heard is that we're going to be having a cover crop field day on April the 13th, and it'll be down in the St. Paul Waldron area of Indiana, so southeast of Indianapolis, about, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour. And that'll be hosted by Anna Morrow's father, and Anna is the Midwest Cover Crops Council coordinator, I guess, kind of working in the background with the faculty and research throughout the Midwest. And she's been partnering, I believe, with the University of Missouri on some cover crop trials. And so that's something that we were able to fly on and also hand incorporate, or excuse me, mechanically incorporate last fall. And have people come down and see that. So that's a nationwide trial. Is there anything else you'd like to share about that?
In that trial, I think we've got some things that we're looking at different varieties of the cover crops we normally use. Plus, I think we're looking at some cover crops we normally don't look at very often here in Indiana. So we're looking at how well they winter, how well they persist through, and how germination and things. So we're looking at that, but we also have some larger plots that were seeded. I think you might have been the one that seeded them, Scott. I'm not sure, but seeded the some larger plots that we're going to be able to look at that and kind of see how they're doing, and we'll be able to look at the soils between where there's no cover crops versus where there's not.
Well, I was down there when we did it, but
Okay.
special thanks to Alex Helms for using one of the drones down at CPAC to come up and fly that on for us. So, but
Okay.
I was there documenting it and everything, and so
Okay.
it was a good day. Beautiful weather when we got it down there, and so yeah, looking forward to that coming up in April. So, Brian, anything else you'd like to discuss before we close out for the day?
No, just if you are interested in doing some trials of Purdue on the farm, let Scott or I know, or talk to your A&R educator in your county, and they can get us lined up with the right people to do that. We've got some time to get things lined up still, but we've got, and I mean, it can be, if it's something that you've just wanted to try and wanted us to help you set up the trial, we can help you do that and get it all lined up and try to get some good data out of what you're wanting to look at.
Thanks, Brian. Yes, and one thing that we're really trying to do is pushing pretty hard this year. We have a Dr. Megan Burns that's joined the team as far as setting up a lot of these trials. She had over 150 of them up in Manitoba, Canada area back in the day when in prior experiences, and so we're pushing pretty hard on getting that out this year. So, Brian, thank you so much for your time today, and looking forward to working with you this summer. Appreciate you coming.
Thank you, Scott.
And thank you everyone for joining in today. And we'll have more interviews as we move closer to planting season. And of course, once the crop's in the ground, then we'll go outside, do some videos and interviews. Thank you.